There we go. All right. I think we're officially recording now. So now that we're stationary, so let's see if we got your beautiful faces. There we go. So here we go. We are launching this 90-day run as we are heading into some very specific events and very important events. So I wanted to talk to you guys about something through this kind of process that we're kind of about to embark on together. And for those of you guys that know, on Wednesdays, we're doing our accountability call, which is at 9 a.m. here in about 23 minutes, which is going to take place directly after this on Wednesdays. For those of you guys that are going to be tracking your numbers for Hawaii with us, those of you guys that are going to be tracking throughout the contest period, how close you are getting to Hawaii, getting to your numbers and figuring that out and making that happen, right? Because we want to make sure that everybody's here getting to Hawaii with us, all right? But on a 90-day run, as one of the biggest things on a 90-day run is the preparation for a 90-day run, really kind of structuring how your activity and or your time, okay? And it's one of the things that I want to talk a little bit about here today, and probably one of the most important things on your journey, not just in Seacret, but in all business. I'm going to flip myself around here and see if that works a little bit better, is learning how to break out your day into really 15-minute increments or 15-minute blocks, okay? So a lot of people, when they break out and chunk down their scheduling, they chunk down their scheduling in the course of an hour, sometimes a half an hour. My recommendation would be to start chunking out your days into 15-minute blocks, especially for those of you guys that are busy with a lot of things going on in your world, and especially for those of you that are moms, because finding an extra hour, an uninterrupted hour, is usually pretty difficult to do. But what we're looking to do is see if we can find those 15-minute chunks inside of your day where we can extract more hours into investing into our business, okay? Now, in a 90-day run, the type of energy that we're putting into this, I want you to think about this, is just an exertion of force. What we're looking to do is kind of emotion, or kind of motion creates emotion. And what we're looking to do is put in it like just an absolute crazy amount of energy or force into something, because things that get in motion tend to stay in motion. And the beginning portion of the run is the most important to kind of get out of the gates and get you off the ground. A couple ways of looking at this is the kind of activity that's required to create this almost like this frenzy, this whirlwind. And I want you to understand is if you're going on a real 90-day run, the amount of activity you're doing, the amount of exposure you're doing, it's almost kind of like you're this big tornado. Like it's chaotic. It's not very, it might be organized slightly, but there definitely is going to be this sense of not even know if I'm coming or I'm going. You'll probably lose some sleep over the course of those 90 days. But what we're looking to do is to create momentum. Momentum in our business is the most glorious thing that you'll ever see. And as it comes, and the reason why we're looking to do this now is what is happening on August 8th. And then leading from August 8th at our rally, which John C. Maxwell, are you kidding me? Just so you guys know, quick tip, I already have 10 people that are not in Seacret that are registered for me personally, for Seacret Live, for John C. Maxwell. And the reason why is it's a free event. And I mean, I've seen John C. Maxwell. I've had a chance to spend a time with him, especially in this recent program as an ambassador with his book. But I remember the first time I went and saw John C. Maxwell, I think the tickets were $199, you know, just to see him for like a 4-hour session in Southern California. And many times since I've had a chance to see him in his audiobooks and his training programs but this is free, right? So that's pretty incredible. So one of the things that I did for this one is if somebody goes to secretlive.com, I just had them put in my agent ID number if they weren't a secret agent yet. So how many people do you have and say, listen, our company, we are experiencing growth, literally 20% growth on growth right now this year in the midst of this crazy pandemic and the craziness that's happening in our world. And we're having explosive growth. Not only that, we have the #1 author in the world on leadership with like 30 million books sold on the subject of leadership, has written over 100 books, has been recognized as one of the most influential people in the leadership community for decades now, who's going to be speaking at our event. And it's a virtual event online, and we're offering it to our agents for free. Now, I know you're not an agent yet, but I want to invite you to listen in and see what's going on in the world of Seacret. And I'm hoping that you're going to see some value. Anyway, so that's a way that you can promote this event to people that aren't even in yet, okay? But when it comes to a 90-day run, kind of back on this, going into August 8th and then going from there into what is going to be in about 90 days, our holiday season and Black Friday and the New Year's. Guys, this is the first time we're going to be experiencing a Black Friday after this entire situation with the new product lines that are being launched, but more importantly, with a, we thought the collapse of retail had happened. Wait until what happens by Black Friday. We're talking about the amount of people that are going to be buying products and services online this year is going to be absolutely ridiculous compared to what happened last year. So this is a perfect position for us to be able to do this. But what we're looking to do is create this inertia and this momentum. So I want you to think about a 90-day run in a couple of different avenues. It's compressing timeframes. So write this down. How can I compress timeframes? Now, I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. How can I compress timeframes? Is what we're looking to do is we're looking to increase the amount of exposure per day that we're getting inside of our business. We're looking to increase that amount of exposure per day. Now, luckily, because of the attraction marketing side and, you know, today with social media, there's a lot more ways to be able to get these exposures. But I want to kind of take us a little kind of old school back. And I want you to think about this kind of like speed in a vehicle, or let's take an airplane getting off the ground. Okay, so if an airplane is getting off of the ground, one of the things that they're going to do, like, I don't know about you, but if I got in there and the pilot was like, hey guys, we're going to be cruising at about 35,000 feet today, and we're going to get this puppy off the ground, I'm going to give this thing throttle about 30%, I would be terrified because as you guys know, to get an airplane off the ground, what do? It's full throttle. It's full throttle, and then once it gets off the ground, they can throttle back and cruise at cruising altitude. But to get it off the ground, which is what many of you are looking to do, which is to get your business off the ground, there's that initial jam, and it is 100% full on, full force, go crazy over the course of a short period of time. Now, the reason why you're full throttle, you're not full throttle for the entire flight because you'll run out of fuel. You'll run out of energy. You just don't have that much capacity. So what the goal is to get the thing off the ground, and then you can throttle the sucker back. And once you kind of get the thing lifted, all right? And then when you decide you want to go to the next level, it's throttle it down again and bump it up, all right? So when you're doing this, the way I look at compressing time frames, okay, is I want to give you an example of if you were to sign up one person every month for a year versus signing up 12 people in 1 month and nobody the rest of the year. You will have more success in your business by having 12 signups in a month and none for 11 than one every month, because there's no energy behind that. It's this inertia, this power to get it done and get it done quickly that creates a little bit of a frenzy because our business is very emotional and we want people to be seeing all the things that are happening. And when you have a group of people like this, that Trish and Ruth and so many of the other people that are here that are going to go, okay, we're in with you. We're going to go crazy with you for 90 days, right? I'm not asking for 9 years. We're not asking for 9 months. We're not asking for 9 weeks. We're talking about 90 days of just going absolutely nuts, okay? And what that looks like is this. I want you to imagine you go to your bathtub and fill up your bathtub. So do you guys all picture your bathtubs? Yes. Yes. No one's paying attention to me. Okay, yes, all right, perfect. So bathtubs. So you go up to your bathtub and you stick your hand on one side of the bathtub, and I want you to picture yourself slowly moving your hand from one side of the bathtub to the other. And you do that over the course of 10 minutes. You just slowly, 10 minutes, you slowly move your hand to the other side of the bathtub. And then on the other side of the bathtub, you pull your hand out. Okay, I want you to picture what is the top of the surface look like, meaning what is the reaction of that action, okay? What is the aftermath, so to speak, of that action? And of course, you're gonna say, well, very little, right? There's not gonna be a lot happening on the surface of the water. There's not a huge reaction to that action, okay? Now let's take that same action, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna compress the time frame, okay? So if you take that same action of moving your hand from one side of the bathtub to the other side of the bathtub, and instead of doing it in the course of 10 minutes, okay? If you moved it within 60 seconds, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 60 seconds and moved your hand out, what would be the reaction to that action on the top of it? Obviously, there would be a little bit more movement that would be happening after you have completed the action. But let's just take it a step further. What if we compress time frames even more? Instead of it being 10 minutes, instead of being 1 minute, what if you did it in 1 second as fast as you possibly could? You took your hand and you went and pulled it out, okay? What is the reaction now on top of the water? Can you guys visualize it? Can you guys see it? Right? Like if you took your hand and just went wham as fast as you could and it started going, I want you to visualize the difference between the top of the water. Now, what's interesting is the distance that your hand is traveling is exactly the same. The only thing that's changing in that scenario is the time frame, but the aftermath or the reaction of that action is completely different. That's how I want you to think about your business, where if you do this, wham, in a short period of time, in the amount of exposures, the amount of business that you guys are doing, the amount of presentations you're doing. So you could take that as, if I did 100 presentations in a year, to 100 presentations in a month, to 100 presentations in a day. I don't think you can do that, but I think you get the example, right? And just wham, and you just strike that thing. Here's what's interesting. It's not actually more time you're spending doing the business. You are just reallocating time in a shorter distance. So what's happening is wham, because what you can do is this. You can slam that bathtub. You can go downstairs. You can make yourself a sandwich. You could come back upstairs and the water is still moving. That's similar to your business. Inside of network marketing, inside of Seacret, is if you take a short run, 20, 30 people, or you take a look at 90 days and you go blitz it for 90 days, you can go on vacation. You can go make a sandwich. You can go, instead of working 80 hours a week, you can bump it down to 20 hours a week. You can bump it down for a short period of time. And what will happen is the aftermath of that action will be a spillover of business that's going to happen, even if you aren't the one putting the action in with your hand, okay? So another way to compress it and to think about this, and I'll give you one more analogy because apparently I love analogies, okay, is to think about gunpowder, okay? So if I take gunpowder and I sprinkle it, okay, think about where you are right now, okay? If you sprinkle gunpowder from where you are right now all the way to your refrigerator, okay? And you just sprinkle it in a line, and I light that gunpowder, what's going to happen is it's going to give me a little spark. It's going to be like spark, 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 and then it's going to die out, right? So, but if I take that gunpowder and I compress it into a small tube, and I put a little fuse on the end of it, okay, and I light that sucker, I could blow up your whole house. So, and why? Because now I've got a stick of dynamite. So it's the same amount of gunpowder. The only thing that's different is it's compressed into a smaller space, okay? Drastically different effect for the same material. So here's how I want you to be thinking about in your 90-day run as you're going out there to do this, okay? Is we're looking to compress time frames to be able to do this faster. Now, where does this happen from? We're gonna have to borrow time. Now, where do we borrow time from? This is where the negotiation starts to happen, okay? So in our lives, we all have 24 hours in a day, yes? Yes. Yes. You guys have to respond. Otherwise, I have no idea if I'm just randomly talking to myself. Okay, cool. So we have 24 hours, which means that we have to sleep for some of those. Now, for some of you guys, here's the thing. 8 hours of sleep, 7 hours of sleep. I don't know how many hours of sleep that you need. Most parents will say that you can live off less than 8 because it's not possible to get 8, okay? Here would be my suggestion, okay, is if you need to for a short period of time, borrow some of your sleep hours. Now, what does that look like? Is 6 hours. Everybody I know, when I studied people that were going on 90-day runs, that were going into this insane amount of activity, one of the areas that they were borrowing was from sleep time. They were going, look, I will get 9 hours of sleep after my 90-day run. I'm going to borrow an extra hour. If I'm normally getting 7, I'm going down to 6, which means that gives me an extra hour at night or an extra hour in the morning. So where can I borrow time to be able to put into my business, because that's all we're looking for. We're looking for is how can we put more activity hours into our 90 days, okay? I'm not looking for after that, but so do you want me to talking to people on, yeah, so, so 90 days of what we're looking to do is, so normally about 6 hours. But what I want you to do is I want you to draw out your day. Now, this is going to be a little bit more difficult if you're not on a regular work schedule. Okay. But I want to take somebody on a work schedule. When somebody asked me, they said, look, Jess, I've got, spouse, I've got kids. I got a 40-hour work week. I've got two. I remember when I did this was years ago. And somebody told me, she said, I don't have time to do a 90-day run. I don't have time to put in 40 hours a week into my business. I'm already working 40 hours a week. And I said, listen, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Okay. I'm not. But I'm just going to tell you that but it is possible. Okay. Now, I'm not saying you're going to want to do it, but I want you to know that you can do it. All right. And here's what this looked like. It was very simple. I said, look, what time do you normally wake up? And she said, I normally wake up at 6. And I said, what time do you normally go to bed? She's like, I'm normally going to bed at about 11. And I said, okay, so you got about 7 hours. You're going to have to rob an hour from at night or in the morning. Which one do you want? And she was like, well, I feel like I'm more productive in the morning. I was like, all right, sounds like a good plan. So you're up at 5 now. And she was like, oh, I don't want to. And I was like, well, do you want to stay broke? And she was like, no. And I was like, all right, well, then this is one of those things where you're going to have to give up to go up. This is one of those things. If you want to do this. Now, I'm not saying you got to do a 90-day run. You can continue to build your business on a few hours a week, but it's going to take you a few years to consistently get there. And she's like, no, I don't have time to wait for a few years. And I was like, perfect. If you ain't got time to wait for a few years and you ain't got time to sleep in. So let's do this. Like, let's really map this out. So we structured in the morning where she got up an hour earlier. And she actually, the next week, she told me it's the greatest hour of her day because it's before everybody else woke up. So it was the most productive time because, as a mom, she's doing all these other things. So she said from 5 to 6, she had an hour of work that she was able to do in her business. Okay. So after that, what ended up happening was she said, now kids are up. I got to get them ready. I got to get them to school. Right. So, and I said, how long is your drive from, the kids, from your home, to work? And she said, my drive from home to work was about, she said, like 20 something minutes. So I said, perfect. I said, so in those 20 minutes, what are you doing? She says, well, I'm not doing anything. I was like, well, that's time you're doing one of two things. That has to be activity where you're either learning or you're growing. Yeah, you're learning or you're growing. So you're listening to something in your car. You're listening to some kind of personal growth. But more importantly is I need you to be doing an activity. Okay. Now, I don't want you to be texting while you're driving. So, but most of you have voice commands on your phone where you can dial people. You can call people. Call Jesse Macpherson, and your phone will call Jesse Macpherson. Okay. Here's what I had found. I had structured any drive time as follow-up time. That's where I was returning voicemails. That's where I was returning calls. That's where I was talking to, following up with prospects. Okay. And in this 90 days, I want you to understand this is less of a learning time. And you guys know me, I am the biggest proponent of personal development and personal growth. But for about 90 days, you're going to focus more on doing your activity than you're going to focus on your personal growth. Because what we're looking to do is compress the amount of activity that we can squeeze into a day. So she said, okay, on the way to work, I can make some phone calls. I can return some phone calls. I can schedule phone calls. So when somebody says, follow up with me on Tuesday, and she knows she's driving to work from 8 to 8:30, and she's saying, okay, cool. What if I called you at 8 o'clock while I'm driving to work? Perfect. So she had a scheduled, she started scheduling follow-up phone calls on that 20-minute drive while she was driving to work. Okay. So after that, she said, okay, I got about 20 minutes here. I said, when's your first break? She said, this time. I said, how long's your break? She said, 15 minutes. I said, perfect. That's follow-up time. 15 minutes is follow-up time. So where can you go that you can make phone calls? She was like, I can't. The break room, it doesn't work. I was like, go to your car. She's like, okay. So from after the car, I said, Britt, when's your lunch? She said, here's your lunch. So here's the thing. Lunches are working lunches. You're going to have to work through your lunch. So, and she was like, but that's kind of my only rest time. I was like, I get it. But you said you want to get out of your job in 90 days. If you want to get out of your job in 2 to 3 years, that's a plan that you can rest on lunch. If you want, not, like, we're talking 90 days of craziness. And she's like, okay, I'm starting to get it. She's starting to get where she could rob and steal some time to put that activity into her business to compress her time frames. Okay. And so from lunch, she had an hour. She had a second 15-minute break in the day. And she was like, follow-ups, right? And I was like, you got it. Okay. Then after work, I said, what time do you get off work? She was like, I get off work at 5. Okay. So she said, sometimes 4, sometimes 5. And I said, okay, cool. So do you have to go straight home? And she said, what do you mean? And I was like, well, people need me at home. And I was like, can I ask you a question? Is your husband home during that time? She says, yeah, he actually gets home before me because he was construction or something, I remember. So, wow, this story is totally coming back to me now. So my memorization skills are pretty good, apparently. So what ends up happening is he gets home. I said, listen, before you go home, because I know once you get home, it's kids and family and dinner and all that kind of stuff. And I said, before you go home, you're going to have to take a pit stop to either do an appointment, because sit down and show somebody the business, or you're going to have to take time before you get home where it's undistracted time. I don't care if it's 30 minutes. I don't care if it's an hour, but you need that extra block of time before you get done. Okay. And then once you're home and you've got dinner, you got kids, you got all that other stuff. And then what time do your kids go down? She's like, my kids go down normally around like 9 o'clock is their bedtime, you know? And I said, okay, perfect. So, and you're going to bed at what time? You're going to bed at 11. She said, so what are you doing between 9 and 11? She was like, watching shows, you know? And I was like, not anymore. So when we structured this out, here's what we got. I want you guys to kind of put this in. We took a woman who said she had no more time in her day. Now, I'm not saying she wants to do this or that you're going to want to do this, but I want you to look at where we robbed some time from. She had an hour in the morning. She had 20 minutes driving to and from work, which let's just say that was 30 minutes. She had 2 30-minute breaks, so there's another hour. She had an hour lunch. After work, we had her schedule a time to either do an appointment, do a sit down to meet somebody before she went home. And she had 2 hours at night. We ended up finding 6 hours in her day that she could do a activity for her business. And she didn't even believe that existed before. Now, what it found is that she didn't end up staying consistent with that, but was, which is amazing. Her name was Jasmine. She ended up quitting her job 6 months later from putting in the time and being consistent with the work. Okay. Now, the reason I want to share you that story is this. I want you to find out where can you rob some time from to put into a activity for your 90-day run. Now, I'm not saying you have to. By the way, you don't have to do any of this. You guys know you don't even have to log on to the Zoom. That's pretty cool. Like, you're in control of your business. And I want you to understand, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed in your business, you're just on the wrong plan. So I don't want you to go on a 90-day run just because one of us is on a 90-day run. It has to be a personal choice, because remember, it's your business. So it's your choosing to decide to go on a run with us, because this is your time to run. This is your time to decide, I want to have incredible results. I don't want slower results. I want immediate results in my business. Okay. I don't want to put my hand inside of this tub called Seacret and slowly move it and get some little reactions and splashes. I want to come in and create some waves in this thing. I want to go out there and show people what's possible. And I can tell you that the secret weapon of network marketing is effectively executing on a 90-day run. Everybody I know that has popped through 6 figures, 7 figures, it was learning how to do a very short period of just all out crazy massive momentum, and then learning how to take that energy, that inertia, that movement, okay, and turn that into some momentum in your business. Now, getting momentum started in your business is one of the most difficult things that you'll ever do, okay? But the payoff is exponentially crazy, okay? So I'm hoping that this makes sense for you guys. It kind of gives some ideas, and I want you to be thinking about, okay, where can I steal some time from my crazy schedule? I know you guys are busy. I know you're juggling a lot, and I know right now you're probably juggling more things than you've normally had to juggle in your world. But I want you to kind of just okay, where can I do some short-term sacrifices? I'll give you one more tip here before we start our accountability call on this, which is, when you decide you're going to go on this 90-day run, you need to get the buy-in from the people around you. You're going to need to talk to your kids, and you're going to need to talk to your spouse. And you're going to say, look, mommy, daddy's about to go on a 90-day run. Here's why. Here's the results I'm looking to produce. And for 90 days, I'm going to need your help. Get their buy-in for it and say, this is the reason why I'm doing it. We might have a little less, cuddle time. We might have a little less of this, but if you help me with this and support me with this and understand why mommy's doing this or why daddy's doing this, okay, and talk to your spouse, let them know, listen, if you could help me out a little bit more with some extra chores around the house or some extra things just for 90 days, I promise you, I will get it back to you in spades. And it's to get the buy-in from the people around you that you're going to go on this epic adventure and that you need their support for just a short period of time. Okay. So now, if you want the support of your spouse, here's what you need to do. You need to go produce. Okay. You need to make money. Show them the money. That's how you get the support from your spouse, because they don't want to see you floundering around in something, spending time on something and not see it working. So hit it hard and hit it fast. Sound good? Yes, yes? No, no. Am I frozen? You guys, I'm not frozen. Okay, all right. Let's do this. We are going to stop this recording.